6 months passed after the Battle of Baiko. The world had changed. News of the Guardians' awakening spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Colonies that had lived in fear for generations began to question everything. The Dominion tried to call it lies, tried to say the videos were fake, but too many people had seen the truth. Revolution sparked on a dozen worlds. The old order was cracking. Tae-sung stood on the cliff where his grandmother used to tell him stories. The village below was rebuilding. New houses rose where old ones had fallen. Children played in streets that had been battlefields. Life continued, as it always did, but he could not rest. "Not yet. You have been quiet," Ignis said. The dragon lay coiled around the mountain peak, its massive form almost invisible against the volcanic stone. "Something troubles you? You showed me the other guardians. You told me humanity created them to fight the darkness between galaxies. But you never told me everything." Tae-sung turned to face the dragon. "What are you not telling me?" Ignis was silent for a long moment. Then the dragon lowered its great head until its eye was level with Tae-sung. "You have grown wise, young guardian. Yes, there is more truth to share. I wanted to wait until you were ready. I am ready now." The dragon breathed, and the breath became visions. Tae-sung saw ancient humanity at its peak. Cities that floated among stars. Ships that traveled between galaxies. Humans who lived for centuries, their minds connected across impossible distances. They were like gods. Then he saw the darkness. It came from the void between galaxies. Not a creature, not truly. It was more like a hunger given form. An emptiness that wanted to be filled with everything else. Where it touched, stars died. Worlds crumbled to dust. Life itself unraveled. "The Eaters," Ignis said. "That is what ancient humanity called them. They do not think as we think. They do not want as we want. They simply consume. And they are endless." Tae-sung watched the visions of humanity's first war against the darkness. It was terrible. Millions died. Entire systems were lost. The Guardians were born from desperation, living weapons bonded to human souls, the only things that could hurt creatures made of nothing. Humanity won that war, Ignis continued. But only barely. The Eaters retreated to the void. They have been sleeping there for thousands of years, recovering. But they are waking again. They felt humanity spread across the galaxy. They are hungry. How long until they arrive? A generation. Perhaps 2. Not long, for beings that have existed since before the first stars. Tae-sung felt fear, cold and deep. But he also felt something else. Determination. Purpose. He was not just fighting the Dominion anymore. He was preparing humanity for a war that would decide if they survived at all. "The Dominion knows," he said. It was not a question. Some of them. The oldest families, the ones who remember why they chose to hide. They believe staying weak and scattered will let them survive. They are wrong. When the darkness comes, it will consume everything. There is no hiding from hunger that big. Then we have to unite humanity. We have to wake all the Guardians. We have to be ready. Yes, that is why I waited for you, young one. That is why the Guardian program was created. Not just to protect single worlds, but to protect all of humanity. Together. Yuna found them as the sun began to set. She had spent months studying the archives that Elder Dongwu had left behind. Her eyes held new knowledge, and something else too. A light that had not been there before. "I found it," she said. "The water guardian beneath the lake. I have been hearing her voice in my dreams. She is calling to me." Tae-sung smiled. He had known this was coming. The archives said that guardians called to compatible souls. Yuna had been hearing the call since she was a child, in her grandmother's songs. She just had not understood what it meant. "Are you afraid?" he asked, terrified. She smiled back. But you showed me that fear is not a reason to stop. It is just something you carry while you keep going. The bonding happened 3 days later, in a cavern beneath the lake where an ancient guardian of water had slept for centuries. Taesoong was there as witness, as Yuna had been for him. He watched his childhood friend step into power that would change her forever. When she emerged, her eyes held the deep blue of ocean depths. Water moved around her like a living thing, responding to her thoughts. She was still Yuna, but she was also something more now. How do you feel? Taesoong asked. Like I can hear the ocean singing. Like every river and raindrop in the world is part of me. She laughed, and the sound was like waves on shore. Is this how you feel about fire? Every day. Hana arrived that evening with news. She had spent months traveling between colonies, spreading the truth, recruiting volunteers. Now she came with a small fleet of ships and hundreds of people who wanted to become guardians. They come from everywhere, she said. Farmers and soldiers, scientists and artists, old and young. When they saw what happened here, something woke inside them. They want to be part of something bigger than themselves. Taesoong looked at the people emerging from the ships. So many different faces. So many different stories. But all of them held the same fire in their eyes. The archives say anyone can become a guardian, he said. The bloodlines were just the first generation. The potential is in all humans. It always has been. Then let us find out if that is true. Over the following months, they did exactly that. Using the archives and Ignis's guidance, they located sleeping guardians across the planet. Forest spirits and stone giants. Lightning birds and shadow wolves. Each one called to different souls, and each bonding was unique. Not everyone succeeded. The bonding was dangerous, as Taesoong knew too well. Some candidates were rejected. Some died. But many more emerged transformed, wielding powers that humanity had forgotten they could have. Word spread. More volunteers came. Other worlds began reporting discoveries. A sleeping guardian beneath a frozen moon. Another in the depths of a gas giant. The Dominion tried to stop the awakening, sending fleets and armies, but it was too late. The fire had spread too far. We are not an army yet, Hana warned during one of their planning meetings. The Dominion still has more ships, more soldiers, more resources. We do not need to be an army, Taesoong replied. We need to be hope. For centuries, the Dominion's greatest weapon was despair. They made humanity believe they were weak, that resistance was impossible. Every guardian who awakens proves that was a lie. The final message came 6 months after the Battle of Baiko. Dominion ships arrived at Baiko again, but not to attack. A single shuttle landed in the village square. From it emerged 3 people in rich robes, their faces pale with fear. They were council members, the rulers of the Dominion. They came to negotiate. We know about the Eaters, the eldest said. Her name was Di Yeon, and she was over 200 years old, kept alive by technology that most of humanity had forgotten existed. Our ancestors saw them destroy 100 worlds. We hid because we thought it was the only way to survive. You were wrong. Taesoong said, yes, we were wrong. The admission seemed to cause her physical pain. The darkness is moving again. Our sensors detected at the galaxy's edge. In 100 years, perhaps less, it will be here. We cannot fight it alone. No one can. So you want to join us? We want humanity to survive. Whatever that requires. It was not forgiveness. The Dominion had done too much harm for that. But it was a beginning. An acknowledgement that the old ways had failed. That something new was needed. Taesoong gathered everyone that night. Villagers and colonists. Old guardians and new ones. Dominion defectors and lifelong rebels. They stood together on the cliff overlooking Baiko, watching Ignis circle in the starlight. Humanity forgot who we were, Taisung said. His voice carried over the crowd, strong and clear. We were not meant to be slaves or cattle. We were not meant to hide in darkness, hoping the monsters would not find us. We were meant to be guardians, protectors. We were meant to be the fire that pushes back the night. He looked at Yuna, her eyes glowing blue. At Hana, standing proud with her rebel fleet behind her. At the hundreds of new guardians, their power still growing, their potential still unfolding. The darkness is coming. It has taken thousands of years, but it is coming. And when it arrives, we will be ready. Not as scattered colonies afraid of our own shadows, but as humanity united, as guardians of every world, as fire that will never go out. Ignis landed beside him, the dragon's flames reflecting in every watching eye. They thought making us forget would protect us, Ignis said, its voice reaching every mind present. They were wrong. Forgetting only made us weak. But humanity was never meant to be weak. You were meant to be the fire that lights the universe. And now you remember. Tae-soon looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond the galaxy's edge, the darkness was stirring. Ancient hunger was waking, preparing to consume everything in its path. But humanity was waking too. On 1,000 worlds, guardians were rising. People were remembering who they were meant to be. The fire that had started in a small village was spreading across the stars. The boy who had been nobody, who had dug crystals from the ground and dreamed of the sky, smiled. "Let them come," he said. "We will be ready." And far above, the stars seemed to burn a little brighter, as if the universe itself was watching, waiting to see what humanity would become. The darkness was coming. The attack came at dawn. Commander J1 had discovered the tunnels. One of his scanners had detected the heat signature of Ignis deep beneath the mountain. He did not know exactly what was down there, but he knew it was large and alive. That was enough to make him afraid. And afraid men do dangerous things. Tae-soon felt the Dominion soldiers moving before anyone else. Their body heat was like cold spots compared to the fire in his blood. Hundreds of them surrounding the village. Ships lifting off from the valley below. Weapons charging with deadly energy. "They know," he told the others. "They are coming." Elder Dongwu nodded. He had been expecting this. "Then we give them a fight they will never forget." Everyone knows their role. Yuna gripped a crystal-powered staff that the elder had given her. It was an ancient weapon, passed down through generations. She looked scared but determined. "I know what to do." Hana checked her repaired communication equipment. "My broadcast is ready. The moment you reveal Ignis, every colony in range will see it. The truth cannot be hidden anymore." Tae-soon closed his eyes. He fell down, deep into the earth, to where the defense systems waited. Ancient machines that had not been used in 300 years. They hummed to life at his touch, responding to the fire in his blood. "I am ready," he said. Commander J1's voice echoed across the village through speakers on his ships. "Attention, villagers of Baiko. We have detected dangerous creatures beneath your settlement. For your own safety, you must evacuate immediately. Any resistance will be treated as an act of war." No one moved. The villagers stood in the streets, farming tools and mining picks in their hands. They were not soldiers. They had never fought anyone. But this was their home. They would not abandon it. "You should have run," J1 said. His voice was cold now, the friendly mask completely gone. "Destroy them." The first shots came from the ships above, energy beams that could vaporize stone. They streaked toward the village center, toward the crowd of helpless farmers. Tae-soon stepped forward and raised his hands. Fire erupted from the earth. Not small flames, but pillars of blazing heat that rose like walls around the village. The energy beams hit the fire and dissolved, their power absorbed into the flames. The Dominion soldiers stopped. Even Commander J1 went silent. "My turn," Taesung said. He reached down with his mind, touching the ancient defense grid. All across the highlands, hidden vents opened. Geothermal energy that had built up for centuries was released in controlled bursts. Fire fountains erupted around the Dominion forces. Their shields failed. Their weapons overheated. Soldiers screamed as the ground beneath them became too hot to stand on. "What is this?" J1 shouted through the chaos. "What are you?" The mountain answered. "Ign ice rose." The dragon burst through the peak like a god of fire being born. Stone and ash flew in all directions. Wings wider than the village itself spread against the sky, blocking out the sun. Eyes of burning gold looked down at the Dominion ships with ancient hatred. Hana's broadcast was already transmitting. Across the colonies, millions of people saw the dragon rise. They saw fire bending to a village boy's will. They saw humans standing against the Dominion with weapons from legends. "This is Baiko calling all free humans," Hana said into her communicator. "The Guardians are real. Humanity's true strength was hidden from us. But no more. Watch and remember who we were meant to be." The battle was chaos. Dominion ships fired at Ignis, but the dragon's scales absorbed their weapons like water absorbing rain. Ignis breathed fire that burned hotter than stars. Ships melted in seconds. Soldiers ran in terror. On the ground, the villagers fought with a courage that surprised even themselves. They used the terrain they knew by heart. They set traps in tunnels where Dominion soldiers got lost. They defended their homes with the fierce love of people who had nothing left to lose. Elder Dongwu led the evacuation of children and elderly to the deep tunnels. Even at his age, he moved with purpose. He had waited his whole life for this day. He would see it through. Yun fought beside Hana, covering the rebel pilot while she kept the broadcast running. The crystal staff in Yuna's hands glowed with energy she did not fully understand, but somehow knew how to use. Her grandmother's songs had prepared her for this, even if she had not known it. Commander J1 watched his forces falling apart. Half his ships were destroyed. Most of his soldiers were retreating. In 1 hour, his career, his reputation, his future had burned to ash. He made a decision. From his command ship, he activated a weapon he was never supposed to use. A planetary cracker. It was meant for destroying worlds that resisted the Dominion too strongly. One blast would trigger every volcano on the continent. Everything within 1,000 miles would die. "If I cannot have this world," he said, "no one will." Taesung felt the weapon charging. It was like a cold spot in the fire of his senses. Something hungry and wrong. He looked up and saw the command ship rising above the battle, its main cannon glowing with terrible energy. "Ignis," he said. "I see it. We must stop it together. Are you ready?" Taesung jumped onto the dragon's back. It felt natural, like he had done it 1,000 times before. The fire did not burn him. It welcomed him. They rose together, climbing toward the command ship. J1 saw them coming. He laughed. "One boy and a beast against the Dominion? You cannot stop progress. You cannot stop destiny. Watch me," Taesung said. He poured everything he had into Ignis. His fire, his will, his love for his home and his people. The dragon blazed brighter than the sun. They hit the command ship like a meteor. The planetary cracker exploded before it could fire. The command ship broke apart in flames. Taesung grabbed J1 before the man could die, because death was too easy. The commander needed to live. He needed to tell others what happened here. Humanity was never weak. Taesung told him as they fell through the sky, Ignis catching them before they hit the ground. "You made us forget, but we remember now. And we are coming back." The remaining Dominion ships fled. They left their commander behind, abandoned their wounded, ran like the cowards they were. The Battle of Baiko was over, but victory came with cost. Elder Dongwu had been wounded protecting the children. A Dominion soldier had found the evacuation tunnel. Dongwu had held the entrance alone until help arrived. Now he lay in Taesung's arms, blood staining his robes. "Do not cry," the old man said. His voice was weak but peaceful. "I have waited 60 years for this day. I got to see a guardian rise. I got to see my people fight. It is a good death." "You cannot die," Taesung said. "We need you. I need you. You have everything you need." Dongwu pressed something into Taesung's hands. A small crystal, glowing with inner fire. The complete archives. Everything the Guardian program ever knew. Use it. Wake the others. Save humanity. He smiled one last time. Then the light left his eyes. Taesung held him for a long time. Around them, the village began to recover. People emerged from hiding. They looked at the destroyed Dominion equipment, at the sky where Ignis circled, at the fires that were already dying down. They had won, but they had paid a price. Yuna found him as the sun set. She sat beside him, saying nothing, just being there. Hana came too, her communication equipment still recording. The broadcast reached 47 colonies, Hana said quietly. More than 200 million people saw what happened here. The Dominion is trying to suppress it, but they cannot. The truth is out. Taesung looked at the crystal in his hands. Inside it, the knowledge of humanity's true history waited to be shared. "Then let us give them more truth," he said. "Let us wake every guardian. Let us remind humanity who we really are." Above them, Ignis roared. The sound echoed across the mountains, across the world, across the stars. The Fire Guardian had risen, and the galaxy would never be the same. 2 weeks passed since the bonding. Taesung learned to control his new abilities slowly. He could feel heat everywhere now. He could sense the body warmth of animals from miles away. He could make fire dance in his palm or burn hot enough to melt stone. But more than that, he could feel the planet itself. It was alive in a way. Its magma flowed like blood. Its heat beat like a heart. And it was connected to him. Ignis took him deeper into the tunnels than any human had gone in centuries. They traveled for days through passages that glowed with inner fire. The dragon moved easily despite its size, as if the mountain itself opened paths for it. "Where are we going?" Taesung asked. "To show you the truth of what humanity was. What you can be again." They emerged into a cavern even larger than where Ignis slept. And there, Taesung saw things that stopped his breath. Giants of metal and stone stood in rows, each one different. One was made of flowing water, frozen in time. Another was living rock, shaped like a massive bear. A third seemed to be made of lightning, bright even in sleep. There were dozens of them, hundreds. Guardians, Ignis said, created by ancient humanity to protect their worlds. When the Great Severance happened, they entered hibernation. They have been waiting ever since. Waiting for what? For humanity to remember. For people like you to wake them. Each guardian needs a human partner. A bond. Without it, they are just machines. With it, they become protectors beyond imagination. Taesung walked among the sleeping giants. He touched the water guardian's frozen form. It was cold, but he felt something beneath the cold. A spark. A waiting spirit. They are everywhere, Ignis continued. On every world humanity once touched. In oceans and mountains, in forests and deserts. The Dominion fears them. That is why they hide the truth. If humanity knew what they could become, the Dominion's power would end. Why does the Dominion want to control everything? Because they are afraid. Long ago, when humans were young in space, they met something terrible. Creatures from between galaxies. beings of darkness that consume life itself. The Dominion's founders chose to hide rather than fight. They scattered humanity across the stars, made them forget their strength, hoping the darkness would not notice them. But the Guardians were made to fight this darkness. Yes, brave humans refused to hide. They created us to be their weapons, their partners, their shields. But the Dominion hunted them. They destroyed records. They killed bloodlines. They thought they were protecting humanity by making them weak. Taesung felt anger rising like heat in his chest. They were cowards. They were afraid. Fear makes people do terrible things. But fear is not wisdom. The darkness is returning, young one. It has taken thousands of years, but it is moving toward this galaxy again. When it arrives, hiding will not save anyone. Only strength will. A sound echoed through the tunnels. Taesung tensed, fire ready in his hands. But the figure that stumbled into the cavern was not a Dominion soldier, Dodd. It was a woman, around 25 years old, wearing a torn flight suit. She was bleeding from a cut on her forehead. She carried a weapon that sparked with broken energy. When she saw Ignis, she fell backward, raising the useless gun. "Wait," Taesung said, stepping between them. "She is not Dominion. Look at her clothes." The flight suit was different from what the soldiers wore. It was older, patched many times. On the shoulder was a symbol Taesung did not recognize, a fist holding a burning star. "The Resistance," Ignis said. "Interesting." The woman stared at Taesung, at his glowing eyes, at the flames that flickered around his fingers. Then she looked at Ignis. Her expression changed from fear to something else. Hope. "It is true," she whispered. "The old stories are true. Her name was Hana. She was a pilot from the orbital colonies, stations that floated in space far from any planet. She had been part of a group fighting against the Dominion for years. They called themselves the Free Flame. We knew there were secrets," Hana said. They sat in a smaller tunnel, sharing food that Yuna had brought from the village. Old records talk about guardians, about humans who could bond with living weapons. The Dominion destroyed most of the information. We thought they were myths. "They are not myths," Taesung said. "They are sleeping, waiting. My ship crashed because I was running from Dominion patrol vessels. I was trying to find proof that the Guardians existed. I was going to show the colonies that we do not have to be afraid anymore." She laughed bitterly. "I found more than proof." "Tell me about the Dominion," Taesung said. "Tell me everything." Hana's story was terrible. The Dominion controlled most of the human worlds now. They took resources. They took people. They called it order and progress, but it was slavery with a pretty name. The colonies she came from were poor because the Dominion took everything valuable. People starved so that the core worlds could be rich. "And Perithium?" Taesung asked. "It is the most valuable substance in the galaxy. Without it, faster-than-light travel is impossible. The Dominion needs constant supplies. They have strip-mined 7 worlds already. Each one died. Billions of people killed. They call it necessary sacrifice. Baiko sits on Perithium," Yuna said quietly. "That is why they are here. Then, everyone in your village is in danger. Once they start mining, they will not stop. They will drill until the planet breaks apart." Elder Dongwu had been listening silently. Now he spoke. "Then we must act quickly. I have spent 60 years studying the sacred texts. They are not prayers. They are instructions. Our ancestors built defenses into this mountain. Weapons powered by the geothermal energy. If we can activate them, we can fight back. One village against the Dominion?" Hana shook her head. "They have fleets, armies, weapons that can crack planets. We have something better," Taesung said. "We have a guardian. And we have the truth." He looked at Hana. "You said you wanted proof. You wanted to show the colonies that they do not have to be afraid. I will give you that proof. Help us fight here, and I will help you wake the other guardians. All of them. On every world. Hana stared at him. You are serious. Humanity was not meant to be slaves and cattle. We were meant to be guardians of worlds. The Dominion made us forget. It is time to remember. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Hana smiled. It was a fierce smile, full of anger and hope mixed together. I have been fighting them for 10 years, she said. I lost my family, my home, everything. And I kept fighting because I believed there had to be something better. Something worth believing in. She stood up and looked at Ignis. I think I just found it. They spent the next days planning. Elder Dongwu decoded more of the sacred texts, revealing defense systems built into the mountain itself. Yuna learned everything she could about the Guardian program, preparing for her own role. Hana repaired her communication equipment, ready to broadcast to the colonies when the time came, and Taesung practiced. He learned to call fire from the earth itself. He learned to feel the planet's heartbeat and use it as his weapon. He was not just a boy anymore. He was becoming something new. Commander J1 noticed nothing. He was too focused on the Perithium readings, too excited about the wealth he would gain. His soldiers grew more aggressive, pushing villagers out of their homes to make room for mining equipment. He did not know that beneath his feet, fire was gathering, power was building, and a village of farmers and miners was preparing to show the galaxy what humanity could truly do. The free flame was about to become more than a symbol. It was about to become a weapon. The ships landed 3 days later. They came down in the valley below Baiko, crushing trees and burning grass. The villagers gathered at the edge of the cliff to watch. Some were scared. Most were excited. After 300 years alone, the Sky People had finally returned. Taesung stood apart from the crowd. He watched with different eyes now. Every night since finding Ignis, he had returned to the cavern. The dragon had shown him things. Memories of ancient humanity. Warnings about the Dominion. Each vision left him more afraid and more determined. The ship doors opened. Soldiers marched out first, wearing armor that gleamed like silver. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. Behind them came a man in a long black coat. He was tall and handsome, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. I am Commander J1, the man announced. His voice was calm and friendly. We come from the Galactic Dominion. We are here to welcome you back to the stars. The villagers cheered. Elder Dongwu, the oldest and wisest man in Baiko, did not cheer. He watched Commander J1 with careful eyes. He had kept the village's secrets for 60 years. He knew things that others had forgotten. Over the next week, the Dominion soldiers spread through the village. They gave medicine to the sick. They shared food that tasted better than anything the villagers had ever eaten. They showed wonders on glowing screens. Cities that touched the clouds, ships that sailed between stars, a galaxy full of human worlds. All of this can be yours, Commander J1 told them. You have been alone too long. Let us help you. Let us help you. Let us bring you home. Most villagers believed him. Taesung did not. He watched the soldiers when they thought no one was looking. He saw them taking samples from the geothermal vents. He saw them studying the ground with machines that beeped and clicked. He saw them marking locations on maps they never showed the villagers. They are searching for the Perithium, Ignis told him that night. They have found traces of it. Soon they will want to dig. What happens when they dig? The Perithium lies near the planet's core. To reach it, they must drill through the magma chambers. This will trigger eruptions that will destroy everything within 1,000 miles. Your village. Your people. Everything. Taesung felt cold, despite the cavern's heat. They would kill everyone? For fuel? They have done it before. 7 worlds have died this way. The Dominion calls them acceptable losses. They do not see your people as human. They see you as obstacles. Then I have to become the Guardian. I have to stop them. Ignis was quiet for a long moment. The bonding is dangerous, young one. Your body must accept the fire. If it rejects it, you will burn from the inside. Many have died trying. And if I do nothing, everyone dies anyway. The dragon lowered its great head. You sound like the guardians of old. They too were willing to sacrifice everything. I am not sacrificing anything. I am protecting my home. Before Ignis could respond, footsteps echoed in the tunnel. Taesung spun around, ready to run. But the person who emerged into the cavern was not a Dominion soldier. It was Yun. She was Taesung's age, with long black hair and eyes that always seemed to be laughing at some private joke. They had grown up together. She was the closest thing he had to family. I knew it, she whispered. Her eyes were wide as she stared at Ignis. I knew you were hiding something. Yuna, I can explain. A dragon. She walked forward slowly, no fear in her steps. My grandmother sang songs about this. The sleeping flame beneath the mountain. I thought they were just songs. Your grandmother knew the truth, Ignis said. Yuna jumped at the voice in her head, but she did not run. The women of your family have always been keepers of the old stories. Even when everyone else forgot, your bloodline remembered. Yuna looked at Taesung. You were going to do this alone? Fight the sky people without telling anyone? I did not want to put you in danger. Stupid. She punched his arm. We have been friends since we were children. You do not get to decide what dangers I face. Despite everything, Taesung smiled. That was Yuna, afraid of nothing. Ready for anything. She could be useful, Ignis said. The bonding requires witnesses. Someone to anchor you to the human world. Without that anchor, the fire could consume your mind. I will be his anchor, Yuna said immediately. Tell me what to do. The next few days were tense. Taesung continued his normal work, acting like nothing had changed. He watched the Dominion soldiers grow bolder. They stopped pretending to be friendly. They gave orders instead of requests. They looked at the villagers like they were looking at insects. Then the accident happened. Byung-ho was a farmer, 50 years old with a kind face and a loud laugh. He found Dominion soldiers setting up drilling equipment near his land. The vibrations were killing his crops. He asked them to move. They shot him. Commander J1 called it an unfortunate mistake. He said the soldier was startled. He offered compensation to Byung-ho's widow, but everyone saw the truth in his eyes. He did not care. One dead villager meant nothing to him. That night, Taesung stood before Ignis. Yuna stood beside him. Elder Dongru was there too. The old man had found them the day before, having followed the same pulling feeling that had led Taesung to the cavern weeks ago. I knew this day would come, Dongwu said. I have prepared my whole life for it. The sacred texts in the temple are not prayers. They are instructions, manuals for the Guardian program. Our ancestors hid them in plain sight. Then you know what I must do, Taesung said. I know, and I know the risks. The old man put a hand on Taesung's shoulder. Your grandmother would be proud. She always said you were special. Now I understand what she meant. Taesung knelt before Ignis. The dragon's eye burned with ancient fire. Speak the words, Ignis said. Accept the flame. Become what humanity needs you to be. Taesung closed his eyes. He thought of Byung-ho's laugh, now silent forever. He thought of his grandmother's stories. He thought of everyone he loved, sleeping in their homes above, not knowing that death was being planned for them. I accept the flame, he said. I will be the fire that protects. Ignis opened its mouth. Fire poured out, Not orange or red, but white and blue, hotter than anything that should exist. It hit Taesung like a wave. He screamed. The pain was beyond description. Every part of him was burning. He could feel his blood boiling, his bones melting. He was dying. He was being destroyed. Then he felt Yuna's hand grab his. Her voice cut through the agony. You are Taesung. You are my friend. You are human. Come back. Come back to us. The fire changed. The pain faded. The burning became warmth. The destruction became transformation. Taesung opened his eyes. They glowed like embers. He stood up slowly. He could feel everything now. The magma miles below. The heat of every living thing in the village above. The cold metal of the Dominion ships. The fire that lived in his own heart, waiting to be released. It is done, Ignis said. The fire guardian has awakened. Yuna stared at him. Tears ran down her face, but she was smiling. Your eyes, she whispered. They are beautiful. Elder Dongwu bowed deeply. Baiko has a protector again. After 300 years, we are not alone. Taesung looked at his hands. Flames danced between his fingers, but they did not burn him. They were part of him now. He was part of them. Above them, the Dominion planned their mining operation. Commander J1 dreamed of the Perithium. That would make him rich and powerful. None of them knew that everything had changed. The fire had awakened. And it would not let them hurt his home. The morning sun rose slowly over the village of Baiko. Smoke climbed from small houses made of stone and wood. The air smelled of cooking rice and burning coal. This was a simple place, hidden in the volcanic highlands of a world that had forgotten its own name. Taesung woke before dawn, as he always did. He was 17 years old, thin and quiet, with rough hands from years of hard work. He had no parents. His grandmother had raised him until she died 3 winters ago. Now he lived alone in a small hut at the edge of the village. He ate cold rice and dressed in his mining clothes. The other villagers were still sleeping when he walked toward the geothermal vents. These were cracks in the earth where heat rose from deep below. The heat created crystals that glowed with orange light. These heat crystals powered everything in Baiko. They kept homes warm. They cooked food. They were the most valuable thing the village had. Taesung climbed down into the vents using old rope ladders. The air grew hot. Sweat ran down his face. He had done this work since he was 12 years old. He was good at it. He could go deeper than anyone else because he was small and not afraid of tight spaces. Today, something felt different. He could not explain it. There was a pulling feeling in his chest, like something was calling him. He followed it, climbing deeper and deeper into the earth. The tunnel walls changed. The rough stone became smooth, almost like glass. Strange patterns appeared on the walls. They looked like the symbols carved into the old temple at the center of Baiko. His grandmother had told him those symbols were sacred. No one knew what they meant anymore. Taesung should have turned back. He should have told the village elders. But the pulling feeling was stronger now. He kept going. The tunnel opened into a cavern so large he could not see the other side. Orange light glowed from cracks in the floor. And in the center of this impossible space, something massive was sleeping. At first, Taesung thought it was a mountain. Then he saw the scales. Each scale was bigger than his whole body. They were black like coal, but fire moved beneath them, glowing through cracks like magma through stone. He saw claws longer than houses. He saw wings folded against a body that could crush the entire village. He saw an eye open. The eye was gold and red, filled with flames that burned with intelligence. It looked at Taesung. It looked through him. And then a voice filled his mind. "You came," the voice said. It was not sound. It was thought, placed directly into his head. I have waited 300 years. Tae-soon could not move, could not breathe, could not think. Do not fear me, child of the Ember, the voice continued. I am Ignis. I am your guardian. And you are mine. The creature moved. Its head alone was bigger than Tae-sung's house. It lowered itself until that burning eye was level with the boy. Heat washed over Tae-sung, but it did not hurt him. It felt like coming home. What are you? Tae-sung finally managed to ask. I am what your ancestors made me to be, Ignis said. Long ago, humanity was great. They traveled between stars. They built wonders that touched the sky. And they created guardians like me to protect them. Tae-sung shook his head. This could not be real. Humanity had always lived in villages like Baiko. They had always been farmers and miners. The stories his grandmother told about sky people were just stories. Not stories, Ignis said, reading his thoughts. Truth. Your people came from the stars, young one. 300 years ago, something terrible happened. The connection to other worlds was cut. Your ancestors forgot who they were. But I remember. I have been waiting for one who carries the old blood. The Ember Code. You? Me? Tae-sung laughed, but there was no humor in it. I am nobody. I am an orphan. I dig crystals from the ground. You are the descendant of guardians, Ignis said. The fire in your blood called you here. It has always been inside you. Have you not felt it? The heat that never bothers you? The dreams of flying through flames? Tae-sung went silent. He had felt those things. He had always felt those things. He thought everyone did. Only those with the Ember Code feel as you do, Ignis said. You were born for a purpose, Tae-sung. And that purpose is about to begin. The dragon lifted its head toward the cavern ceiling. Through some magic or ancient technology, Tae-sung could suddenly see the sky above. As if the stone was not there, lights were moving among the stars. Lights that were not stars. Ships, Ignis said. The sky people are returning to your world. Hope flared in Tae-sung's chest. If his grandmother's stories were true, if humanity really came from the stars, then these must be rescuers. They would reconnect Baiko to the galaxy. They would share their technology. Everything would change. No, Ignis said, and the word was heavy with sorrow. These are not saviors, young one. They are called the Dominion. They do not come to help your people. They come to take, to harvest, to destroy. How do you know? Because I have seen their kind before. 300 years ago, it was they who cut your world off from the stars. They wanted your people to forget, to become weak. And now they return to claim what they believe is theirs. The lights grew brighter. The ships were getting closer. What do they want? Tae-sung asked. Beneath this mountain, beneath your village, lies something precious. A mineral called perithium. It powers their ships. Without it, they cannot travel between stars. They will tear your world apart to get it. They will kill everyone you love. Fear and anger mixed inside Tae-sung. His hands became fists. Then we have to stop them. Yes, Ignis said. We do. But you are not ready. Not yet. The bonding must happen first. You must become what you were born to be. What is that? The dragon's eye burned brighter. In its flames, Tae-sung saw visions of ancient humans wielding fire like weapons, flying alongside dragons through the void of space, protecting worlds from darkness. A fire guardian, Ignis said. The first in 300 years. Above them, the ships entered the atmosphere. They burned like falling stars, heading toward Baiko. Tae-sung knew that nothing in his life would ever be the same. He looked at Ignis. The fear was still there, but something else was growing. Something that felt like the flames that lived in his dreams. Tell me what to do, he said. The dragon smiled. and the cavern filled with warm light. First, Ignis said, we watch. We learn, and when the time is right, we burn.